It's a happy new year, or at least that's what we should be saying at this point of the year, even though we're halfway through the month. But it's not so happy for many individuals and families that have been affected by the very latest cases of abductions, recent cases. And we have one in the last few hours. That's what we're going to use as an entry point. My name is Mark Masai, and I'm very pleased this evening to be hosting Mwaura Kabata Mwaura, who is the Vice Chair of the Law Society of Kenya. He's been a busy man. In fact, imebidi afike hapa na nduthi kwa sababu traffic imekuwa noma, but he's made it, and we're going to have that conversation because the state of affairs in terms of abductions is getting out of hand. In fact, some might even say, Mwaura, that this is a new law for the law or the order of law in Kenya in terms of why is this happening in Kenya, the haven within the region, haven within even the continent, many would say. But that name or brand is actually changing, and unfortunately so. You've been close to many of these. First of all, Mwako Manzaje, besides the...
Hectic as usual. We didn't go for holiday. We stayed around. We had so much to do.
Yes.
We also had the finalization of the 7 abductees, which we now ended the year with. Right. Hopefully, a majority of them have since been found. The 2 who are remaining, this is Kevin Modhoni and Kavingo. We hope that somehow they will also be released.
So it's a good thing you brought that up, because that's been in the last few weeks of the year 2024
yes.
and into this year.
Yes.
And many have been saying it's 7 abducted, 6 have been, reunited with their families, but you're actually giving us a different update there.
Yes.
Yes. So we have 5 who have been reunited with their families?
Yes. And of which we are now taking statements today and to report back to the court using the auspices of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights as well as the Independent Police Oversight Authority.
Yes.
Part of the orders, the cumulative orders that Justice Mwaura had issued, were that when these persons are found, then they ought to have been taken to IPOA, or Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and then LSK will oversee the statement recordings for purposes of now bringing the statements to court.
Yes.
For the court to act as a quasi-investigatorial and quasi-inquisitorial body to first of all understand what is happening, who is abducting these Kenyans, why are they being abducted, where are they being taken, and of key importance, how are they being tracked? That is very key. How are they being tracked? Because that will then generate another discussion as to non-state actors who are party to this madness.
Exactly.
And at a very, very big scale, which violates very many aspects of corporate social responsibility.
And one of the active discussions right now is because of the latest abduction, and that has involved a Tanzanian national, Maria Sarungi, who is a journalist as well as the human rights advocate. And she gave a bit of her experience earlier on today. And she said she was abducted by 4 people as she was about to get her Uber from around Chaka Place, hapa Nairobi. And when you bring that issue up of how is it that these people are being tracked? So people will start asking questions. Is it at the point as I'm using my phone as I'm trying to get hold of? Because she did say also that the husband had talked to her asking, what time should we expect you? And she said, I'm done, almost done. I should be home soon. And then when there was a bit of silence and delay, that's when he went personally to make sure that he finds out what's happening. And then he found out that she had been abducted. Yeah. But thankfully, she was found last evening. Tell us, first of all, how LSK got in, because it's been a multi-pronged attempt, an effort to help Maria, as has been the case with the other abductions. So tell us how LSK got involved in this and who else came in to the support of Maria.
We have been having a conglomerate of well-wishing civil society organizations, including the Law Society. The Law Society is not a civil society organization. It is a statutory body that is mandated to assist not only courts, but also government in the administration of law. Key and instrumentally among the statutory mandate is also to assist members of the public.
Right.
And so you see, this is where we get the mandate. And once we learned of her abduction, because it was shared on social media,
Yes.
Amnesty International had given a tweet on it. We then undertook, because we have this body of well-wishing stakeholders, including Amnesty, including Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, including Kenya Commission on Human Rights,
right.
the non-constitutional human rights body,
yes.
and many other bodies. We undertook now to, in partnership with our Tanzanian counterparts, the Tanganyika Law Society,
yes.
and Amnesty Tanzania, to now see how we could manage it. So we had also to send guys at the border points, to send guys in between the conduits towards Tanzania, because we had credible information that she was being taken back to Tanzania. And
right.
you know, I want to dissuade us from using the word extradited to Tanzania, because it is not extradition.
Yes.
Extradition is a legal process.
Right.
In fact, you can't be taken back to your country of origin or any other country through a process which is legal. Mm-hmm. But what we are talking about now is refoulement. Refoulement is an illegal
yes.
Repatriation back to your country.
So that's what's happened,
that is what is
about to happen to Maria,
yes.
happened to Kizza Besigye.
Yes, it happened to the 4 Turkish nationals who, incidentally and curiously, are not being spoken about by anyone, not even the Turkish nationals who received them. Wow. Curiously and interesting.
Yes.
They are not being spoken about by UN bodies. They are not being spoken about by any other person.
Right.
Curiously so, I must admit that it is at this point where we must be concerned whether they are alive or dead.
True, because they came to Kenya as asylum seekers.
In fact, they had refugee status. In fact, they did have refugee status.
Right.
That adds insult to the injury, because it is the same international body of protection of either internally displaced or outside displaced persons that they had come to Kenya to seek.
Yes.
Kenya has been a safe haven to so many persons, even when our own political governance was in question. Right. We did not open that box. We had a firm grip on protecting persons who sought refuge in Kenya. Right. It is a slippery slope where we are heading, and it's quite sad.
And right now we're looking at a number of about 700, you're saying
790, almost 800K persons who are already in Kenya and within the protective framework of refugee law.
Okay, yes. So let me take you back to what you were saying, the process. You had credible information that Maria, the Tanzanian journalist and human rights advocate, was being taken to Tanzania, or that was the plan.
Yes.
And that is an illegal process because it's not an extradition.
It's not.
And so you put the measures in place to make sure you can at least make noise. What did you resolve to do when you learned about that angle? You sent people at the border point?
Yes.
Okay.
We had persons at the border point. We had persons trying to appeal to our networks within the National Police Service.
Yes.
Probably most of this information is not for digestion right now.
I get you.
But we had information on how they were moving, and we certainly knew that they were going to take her back to Tanzania.
Right.
And even herself, she admits, because when you undergo these processes, somehow, if it is not by mistake, then even you as the victim understand what is happening. Right. You know who is targeting you. So she was particularly singled out, and even if you hear what she's saying, she could see someone who was, trailing her at the place where she was, and she had the apprehension that someone was actually trailing her.
Yes.
Even as she was going to take the taxi, she also felt this, and curiously so, a very unnamed hero. There was a City Hopper bus driver,
yes,
who attempted to block that car, but it outmaneuvered him, and they sort of brandished their guns, and they managed to escape. But this is the message that we want to send to Kenyans, that if you witness these things, apart from recording, be proactive, take an active role as a citizen, because some of the sacrifices that build onto good governance and build onto good constitutional order do not necessarily come easy.
And let me just interject on that point, because there is a concern then that, first of all, it's good to hear from LSK that as citizens, we can come in and shield our people when
Yes.
we feel that they're being wrongly taken.
Yes.
And it happened today actually in Kirinyaga. I think it's Mwaura area.
Yes.
Where a lady was being bundled into an Outback, a Subaru, one
Yes.
of those, the characteristic Subarus.
Yes.
And they claimed to be DCI,
Yes.
it is said in this story that I saw on NTV. And the people came in and said no.
Exactly.
So stopped them.
Exactly.
And the lady is free, thankfully.
Exactly.
And I hope she's free wherever she is right now. I do not know why
Exactly.
they were looking for her. She says they guised themselves as customers for rice. Wakajifanya, unauzaga rice, tunataka kununua kilo 20. And then when they got there and bundled her.
her.
So as this was happening, the citizens there in Mwaura, Kirinyaga County said no, hamchukui huyu. So can we hear it from LSK that it is in order that a citizen who feels that someone is being unlawfully treated by such individuals in terms of being bundled into a car, would it not come off as or be stated as you are aiding and abetting, or you are is it restricting arrest, or I don't know restricting arrest. I think there's a legal jargon, a term. Would I be legally sound and in order to stop that action taking place as a citizen?
Absolutely. It is a citizenry action, and there is no power that is without citizenry consensus. That all this power is exercised on behalf of the people of Kenya.
Okay.
And what is happening, what you're terming as being bundled into a car, is not an arrest.
Yes.
You are not being arrested. So we have to separate being bundled into a car and being arrested.
Yes.
Now, an arrest follows the following procedure. The person coming to you identifies themselves.